Magic in ancient Egypt. Magic pattern. Mummies and magic. Funerary myhology. The Egyptian view of death. The experience of death is universal, but mankind has seldom accepted this fact without protest. To a certain degree, all religion can be considered a great monument to this protest against death. The protest against death that the ancient Egyptians expressed in their religion is imposing to all who have studied the monuments in Egypt itself, or in museums with Egyptian collections, all over the world. Most of what remains of ancient Egyptian culture, whether it is material pyramids, mummies, statuary, and other remains, or literary texts on stone and papyrus and other inscriptions, is funerary. Although our knowledge of ancient Egyptian culture is doubtless one-sided, since most of its non-funerary aspects are lost forever, it must be said that the ancient Egyptians focused on questions of life and death to a degree unsurpassed, before or since. In the millennia of their history they developed an imposing, extensive, and intricate funerary mythology to answer the riddle of death and to make its prospect more acceptable. In Egypt, death was not considered shameful and forbidden, as it has been until quite recently in much of modern Western culture, but was accepted instead as part of creation. It was considered not just the end of life, but also the trance to a new mode of being. The Egyptians believed that, although life is transitory, it could be preserved through renewal. In ritual, this mythical truth was reversed, and life renewed by preservation. Death might be viewed as an enemy or as a friend, but it was inevitable. The underlying idea was that life can only exist, be renewed, and be regained through death. Not only human beings, but also such gods, as Re and Osiris were mortal, they had life in the sense that they had died and arisen from the dead. The renewal, that mystery-house process that Christensen called life from death, came about outside the communicated world in the unfathomable depth and darkness of the primeval waters that surround this world. It is in that mysterious space that the deceased could live again. One sung hymn reads, "How beautiful is thy shining forth in the horizon. We are in renewal of life. We have entered into none. He has renovated us to one who is young for the first time. The one has been stripped off, the other put on." The last sentence has been interpreted to mean, the old man is cast off, and the new man is put on. It may also call to mind the mummy bandages that are thrown off in the decisive moment of resurrection and the white garments that the glorified dead wear in depictions of the underworld. The dead bodies sink after death in the chaotic, lightless, and endless primeval waters. Here the sun-god, after having shone upon earth, descends in the evening and gives light and life in the underworld and orders, at least part of it with time and space into life-times and abodes in which the resurrected dead can live. The underworld is created or divided into 12 hours, according to the Book of Amjuat, and into 12 portals, according to the Book of Gates. The dead do not all sink back into the uncreated non-being like the enemies of the gods. They are preserved, and arise from the dead in a mysterious space, a realm of the dead that man on earth can reach only in his imagination and through his knowledge about the mysterious course that the sun daily makes around this world. Egyptian funerary mythology and ritual. The pyramid texts, mankind's oldest corpus of written religious texts, dating from the first half of the 3rd millennium BC, or even earlier, already represent an intricate funerary mythology. Here it is stated that the king survives after death among the gods in heaven. Many passages appear at first sight to be rather unmythological protests against death. Oh, oh! Oh, oh! Raise yourself, O king, receive your head, collect your bones, gather your limbs together, throw off the earth from your flesh, receive your bread which does not grow moldy and your beer, which does not grow sour. O my father, the king, raise yourself upon your left side, place yourself upon your right side for this fresh water, which I have given to you. O my father, the king, raise yourself upon your left side, place yourself upon your right side for this warm bread, which I have made for you. This utterance seems to begin with a very naturalistic, flat denial of death with no mythological detour. It seems to suggest that the deceased king is not dead, but only asleep, and can raise himself, eat and drink. It is, however, not simply an emotional outcry denying the reality of death, but a traditional ritual text, writ -10 in several pyramids and recited at the occasion of offering. Food was of -fred to the dead, not so much with the expectation that they would really eat it, but with the aim of including them in the community. The dead were not -pelled from the community, but given a special status as the blessed dead to whom food was offered on certain occasions. As every human being knows, the personality does not simply disappear on the day of burial. In Egypt, it would be dangerous to neglect the traditional obligations of alimentation. One should not take this text to mean the Egyptians of the 3rd millennium BC believed that the dead king would rise to eat and drink on earth. This would, at best, hap -pen in an imaginary or mythological abode.